Hi, welcome to the next edition of Speak Competitive List. Today, we don't really have that many new decks. There hasn't been that many 5.0s since Foundations dropped. So we do have some to clean up from previous season, tail end. So we're talking about those. And then we'll get into the newer decks that are featuring new Foundation cards. So if you like this series, be sure you smash that like button, subscribe, hit that notification for future videos. We're on our way to 2,000 subs. Let's get there together. Let's get into these 7 decks and discuss. So first, at the end of the last season, Boros Kavote got a 5.0. It is playing the Abandoned Doll, which, is a newer card from last season, from Dustmorn. Besides that, it's pretty stock. I think this is kind of where Boros Kavote is heading. 4 and 4 on the Loxodon and the Knight Errant, and 4 recruiters, 8 inspectors, 4 epicures, 4 wardens, 4 resolute reinforcements. Sideboard, we do have 2 wedding announcements for the grinding matchups. Most likely you're going to cut the resolute reinforcements. We have Rest in Peace for Graveyard Hate, Running Volley for spirits and angels, and Celestine Coco. We have Invasion of Gomacon as a way to protect yourself against sweepers, like black sweepers. 1 Deafening Silence for Phoenix. 3 Get Lost for Planeswalker removal and enchantment removal. 4 Torch the Towers for aggro removal. Also, could be quite relevant, especially against something like Unstoppable Slasher. You'll sack a reinforcements token and permanently exile that stupid Slasher so it doesn't keep coming back. So that is the Boros Kavote deck. Pretty simple. It got a 5.0. That's about it. Let's get into the next list. So next is the Simic Desert stack. They got a 5.0 last season. Has the brand new Fungus from last season. So this deck has gotten incremental new good cards like the Frogs from Bloomburrow. OTJ is, of course, where all the desert stuff came from. So every set, it seems like it's pushing forward. This version is playing Kidnap, which is kind of interesting. 4 mana, take their threat. Instead of the 2 and X, take their threat, and if you pay 5 or more, you get to copy it. So that is the sweet main board. And of course, we're playing 4 Ghost Vacuum, for Phoenix and Fang to exile their yards. 4 Ether Gust as a way to deal with red prowess stack. So dealing with the mouse is quite important. Plus Scamp, stuff like that, where they definitely want their creature to die to deal a bunch of damage to you. Back to Nature, really good against Incarnation / Overlords. Unable to Scream, decent 1-drop removal, turning the threat into an 0/2. Mystical Disputes for blue-based decks like Control. Change the equation for more good cards against red and green. Also, cheap counter spell for our cheap mana value stuff as well. Up the Beanstalk for grinding matchups where you kind of want to draw more cards. Which is, we do draw a lot of cards with green, the turtle. Also, Entrancer. So these are cards that draw a lot of cards. We're able to keep tapping our Grazer down, drawing more cards with the Entrancer. And Mimic is really sweet in this deck because you either copy the green shell or the Entrancer and draw a lot of cards. So that is pretty dang awesome. Let's get into the next list. So next on my list is this weird Orzhov mid-range pile that also is playing Lotus Field plus Strict Proctor. Strict Proctor naturally is pretty decent in the current meta. We also are playing 4 Thoughtseize, 4 Fatal Push because it's just amazing. 2 Digital Duresses for more discard effects in game 1. We have 3 Stoppers, Unstoppable Slashers. 1 Valgavoth, or no, it's not Valgavoth, it's Varagov, the guy that you could bolst and tutor something. We have 3 Bloodletters to help combo our Slasher. An Overlord to help mill ourselves and pick our most interesting card. 4 Annexes, just because it's a really good Magic card. It's honestly could be even arguably better than a Fatal the Mirror Breaker. 2 Invoked Despairs for the grinding matchups, plus Maze Mind Tome for those matchups too. little bit more removal with Edict and Go for the Throat and Wandering Emperor, which is a minus exile target creature. Sideboard, we do have 3 Rest in Peace for Graveyard Hate, a High Noon for Phoenix, also against burn decks, stuff like that, where you could reduce them down to 1 spell per turn. 2 Vanishing Verses for a little bit of Overlord hate. We have Path to Peril for aggro hate, Go Blink for Graveyard Hate, plus Control and Combo hate. 1 Archon of Emeria, a little bit more for Phoenix, and also, matchups where they want to cast a bunch of spells. 1 Liliana the Veil for control and mid-range. Metropolis Reinformer, which is really good against aggro, so we stop their red spells. 2 more Invoke Despairs, really good against mono green, also control, and not really combo because it's slow, but grindy matchups. Shieldred for a different threat, really good against Phoenix, where they cast draw a lot of cards. Also, a few other matchups as well. That is our Orzhov mid-range pile. Let's get into the next rounds, which the rest of these will be decks featuring brand new Foundation cards. Let's get into them. So next on my list, I have 2 decks back-to-back. Both of these are elves. 2 different versions. This version is a Court of Calling style deck, where we have tutor targets like Realm Walker, Tyvar. We also can tutor up a Elvish Warmaster, or potentially also Archdruid or whatever. Shaman of the Pact. So we have like 3 copies of most of our stuff in our deck. There's enough to where we could draw them naturally, or we could just cord for them. In the sideboard, though, we do have 4 Fatal Pushes for aggro, 2 Shaper Sanctuaries for the decks that have heavy amounts of removal, like for Fatal Push matchups. Revoker as a way to, turn off a Teferi or whatever that has an activated ability. We have 1 Haywire Might for Artifact and Enchantment Exile. 4 Thought Seizes we could bring in against control, combo, stuff like that. 1 Sentinel of the Lost Lore as a tutor target for the Court of Calling or even Coco to exile graveyards. Soulless Jailer as a way to stop, Phoenix coming back, anything like that. We have a Sylvian Messenger as a tutor target for Cord that we could just look top 4 and get all the elves, put them in hand. It really helps against grindy matchups as well. So we have 2 Shaper Sanctuaries and a Sylvan Messenger, which you want to play a mixture of them because you want to be able to tutor for some of your card advantage pieces. Let's get into the next elf deck. The next elf deck looks more like a mono green pile. We have a little bit of black in the sideboard for Thoughtseize and Fatal Push, which are, like I said, mainly for control and also aggro. This version plays 4 of the elites, and we also have 2 Circle of Dreams Druid, which taps for how many creatures we have. We have a Banner of Kinship, so instead of the Court of Calling, so we'll be able to get a decent sized board. So I'm going to do a little bit of a hybrid this season for my version. I do want to try Banner of Kinship, but I still don't want to cut all my cords. So I'm going to try 2-2 split, see how that pans out, because I do want to see, because I want to play with the new cards. Also, that's kind of nice. We have 4 Shaper Sanctuaries in this deck because we're less dependent on the Court of Calling and more dependent on actually drawing our spells. And Shaper Sanctuaries is really good in the matchups where there's a heavy amounts of Fatal Pushes, target removal. We also have 4 Unlicensed Herds for Graveyard Hate, instead of like Sentinel of the Lost Lore or whatever, where we have a Graveyard Hate piece that we could tutor for with Cord, or also Coco. So instead we go with the Hearse version. So that is the 2 elf decks. Let me know in the comment section which one of these decks you guys like more. Don't forget, all these decks will be in the comment section below. And we have 2 more decks to cover. Let's get into them. I am now offering Patreon and Locals content exclusive. That includes sideboard guides, budget guides, exclusive videos, as well as other types of content. If you want to check out the link, it's in the description. Now, let's get back into the video. So next is a top tier deck, which is Selesnya Coco. It is this 5.0 deck tested out 2 copies of the Spinner of Souls, which is the brand new Spider, which is a 3 mana 4/3 with reach, which is reasonable stats. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you get to reveal the top of your library until you reveal a creature, and then once you do, put it into your hand. It's a nice little piece to reward you for your creatures dying, and you really kind of want your Enduring Innocence to actually die and then come back as an enchantment. That way they don't get got by certain types of removal spells. Even Interrupter is a way to fight control and stuff like that, where we can counter their sweepers and stuff like that. For some reason, this version is playing 2 Lion Sashes in the main. I don't really know if I would like that. I think it's more of a sideboard card. I'd probably rather just play the Anointed Peacekeeper in the main. Seems like a better choice because it's kind of better against more decks. So Archon of Emeria helps against Phoenix, also against Lotus Field and stuff like that. Eat Elves, really good. We have 4 Exit Innocence as a way. It's the best card draw piece in the deck. We have 4 Cocos. We have 4 Skyclave Apparitions, 2 of the Vox Bodyguards in the main, 2 side. For against aggro, we actually want to cut the Even Interrupters in this matchup, so we kind of want to cut those for those. We also have some Brutal Cathars. We also want to cut some Archon of Emerias, or even Anointed Peacekeepers. Also Lion Sashes. These are probably cards you want to cut against aggro. Bring in your Brutal Cathars, bring in your Portable Holes, and bring in your Bodyguards. Like I said, we have 4 Cocos. Really good card. 3 Thalias as a way to tax out target removal. Sideboard, we do have 2 Elite Spellbinders. For against control, we want to cut our removal package like Bodyguard and Skyclave Appetizers. And mid-range and stuff like that. We have 2 Guardian of Faith to protect against Wrath Sweepers. We have 1 Gideon Allen Zendikar for control and mid-range piles. Pretty good there. 2 Unlicensed Herds for Phoenix and Fang. And then we have Hole for Inkathar and Bodyguard for aggro. So Peacekeeper for control, also against combo, anything like that. It really helps tax out their combo pieces, so that's pretty important. And got one more deck to talk about. Let's get into it. So last on my list is a deck that I got a 5-0. That is Metalwork Colossus. This version is playing 4 Ingenious Smiths. I am not playing that in my version that I'm going to be featuring a few weeks from now. 4 Prototypes for a little bit of ramp. Portable Hole for aggro removal. 4 Foundries for ramp. 3 Aegis as a way to answer any kind of creature. We have a few Boots to give our Metalwork Colossus haste. 4 Brass Knuckles as a way to, comes down and it provides 8 mana value worth of things to discount the Colossus. Synthesizer is our backup way to win the game besides a Colossus. 4 Leyline Axes, because this is just a free, potentially, 4 mana discount off of the Colossus if you have it on turn 1. This version is playing a copy of Ironcrag at the bottom. Sideboard, though, we do have 4 Knockout Blows for aggro. 4 Rest in Peace as a way to fight Fang and Phoenix. 3 Metallic Rebukes for control combo. 2 Mystic Forges for the mid-range matchups where you kind of have to grind. We have 2 Damping Spheres as a way to fight through Lotus Field, Phoenix, stuff like that, where they cast a bunch of spells in any given turn. So that is all the decks I have to talk about today. I do want to know in the comment section which one of these decks was your favorite. Which decks would you be trying out on either Arena, potentially, or even on Moto? But until next, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Shout out to all my supporters, and if you want to see any other content from me, check out either one of these 2 videos and playlists. And I'll talk to you soon.